Hello and welcome to the Tour Junkies DP World Tour DFS and betting preview show. I'm your host Mark Hill. We're back after a 3-week hiatus where the tour had to take another break due to COVID interventions. So Middle East swing is in the rearview mirror. We are back with the magical Kenya Open as we move to African swing at the minute. I'll open up the show though with a toast with the podcast juice of choice this week, which is a cigar box Malbec. It's an Argentinian Mendoza wine, which I'm sure Mr. Perry will approve of. And let's open up with a two-headed toast, if you like, because firstly, congratulations to Mr. David Barnett. He is taking the plunge into full-time content creation for the Tour Junkies Network, and all aboard that. I hope it works out very well for Mr. DB. And on top of that, it is a birthday this week for the magical Patrick Perry. So cheers, guys. Let's enjoy the show and get on with it. Before I do, though, any of you guys that are tuning in to the YouTube version of this rather than the podcast version, so you may notice that I am wearing a Middlesbrough football shirt. And for you guys that don't know, Middlesbrough are a soccer club in the second tier in England. Always been my team from boyhood. And we are currently playing in extra time of the FA Cup against Tottenham Hotspur. You may get some emotion during this show if we do manage to upset here and record a win. But I'll try not to let it be too big a distraction. It's kind of like DB or Pat trying to watch the Bulldogs in the background while recording a show. But the show must go on. So on that note, I am going to get into the course breakdown and key stats for the Muthaiga Golf Club in Nairobi, Kenya. It's par 71, 7,184 yards. It's the third year of the Kenya Open on the European Tour. Prior to that, it was a Challenge Tour event. Oh, and we nearly had a goal there. We nearly had a goal for Tottenham. We're not going to get distracted. We're going to keep the show on the road. It's okay. It's okay. I'll stay calm. It is in a third year of the Kenya Open on the European Tour. As a Challenge Tour event before that. So we'd have a little bit of Challenge Tour history to draw upon when the event was held at Muthaiga in 2017 and 2018. Last couple of years have also been in Nairobi, about 10 miles down the road at Karen Country Club. We can draw some comparisons in terms of the venue with the elevation side of things and some other traits as well. But in terms of this track itself, it's classical Parklands tree-line track. Elevation, so 5,000 feet above sea level. Altitudes of play, further ball flight. You're going to have some sort of finesse to your game to be able to read the flight there. On top of that, narrow fairways to contend with, water in play on 9 of the holes, number of dog legs as well throughout. It's one of the older courses in Africa, but did go under significant renovation in 2004 under the guidance of Peter Matkovic. Fast and firm bent grass greens is a running theme here. Not quite to Augusta levels, but it's certainly going to put the cat amongst the pigeon and a little bit on the smaller side as well. So in terms of key stats that I've had a look at, so it is a track that's under 7,200 yards. So I've looked at a bit of history there for the golfers. Generally scoring anywhere between sort of minus 10, minus 15. Aaron Rai did hit minus 17 in 2017. And I guess if we look at the two winners of the Challenge Tour event here in 2017 and 2018 was Aaron Rai and Lorenzo Gagli. And the running theme between the two is accuracy off the tee, greens and regulation. You've got that with your boy Aaron Rai, who's now over on tour on the PGA side of things. That's definitely something I've kept in mind, looking for guys that sort of trend towards their style of games. Short course history, I've said altitude as well, playing above sea level, and then the quick bent grass greens would be another factor. Correlating courses, there's a number on the European Tour. Crans Saint-Chien, where the European Masters is held in Switzerland, also played at elevation, tight, windy in places. I've looked at the two Spanish tournaments played at the Open de España in Madrid, and then Valderrama, which is played the following week as well at the Andalusia Masters. Again, you have to be a nifty, tight track to have to navigate your way around the tree-lined aspect. And then ultimately the South African and Kenyan venues as well, played at altitude. Lots of course form, comp form between the South African legs and the Kenya tournaments. Recent form coming into the tournaments. So 2017, 2018, Gagli and Rai both recorded top 30 finishes prior to their win. On top of that, Aaron Rai had a 7th place finish at the Joburg Open in South Africa as well on his previous start before dropping down the levels to win on the Challenge Tour. 2018 and 2017 conditions were very, very different. So 2018 played extremely wet. So obviously the contrast to that was 2017. It was dry, ball ran a lot further, and that's the kind of weather we're expecting this week, where it's going to be firm, fast conditions. Ball is going to travel, and you really have to have your eye in on that side of it. Also, want to be a half decent scrambler as well, given that it's a smaller green complex and fast and firm surfaces when you're on there. In terms of my model side of things, so I have baseline numbers put together for 92 players in this field, which isn't too bad considering it's the drop down in class. Haven't been able to have baseline numbers for everyone across the board, but it's definitely something that I've tried to add on is to look on a little more depth on some of the Challenge Tour guys. Haven't paid too much attention to the Kenya guys that are coming in here, but a number of guys from the Sunshine Tour who are regulars there, where we have got a little bit of form to work with, a little bit of history. It's those Challenge Tour guys that I'm probably still trying to get fully up to speed on in terms of the modeling aspect, but we've certainly plenty of narratives to go on to get a feel for them. Top of the betting board then is headlined by Dean Burmeister and Adri Arnhuis at 14-1. Adrian Moronk is at 16-1. Justin Harding also at 16-1, who's your defending champion, albeit last year's tournament was played at Cairn Country Club, and Thomas Dietrich at 18-1. And the top of the betting board is rounded out by Johannes Veerman at 20-1. Let's have a little bit of a look at each of those golfers at the top of the board. Dean Burmeister, then, he's coming off a 2nd place finish at the Dimension Data Pro-Am event, which is co-sanctioned between the Sunshine Tour and the Challenge Tour. Distance off the tee, potentially could overpower this shorter track. Recorded one of his tour wins as well at the Shan Open in Pretoria, another short, tree-lined, par 71 setup played at elevation. And I'm sorry, but my boys have just interrupted this stream because Middlesbrough have just taken the lead in the second minute of extra time, second minute of the second half of extra time. So we are around 14 minutes away from going back to back against Man United in the previous round, Tottenham Hotspur this round. So I'm a happy boy. I'll be kissing this badge by the end of the show. Anyway, who I will not be supporting this week is Adri Arnhuis at 14-1. He's in my feared territory. He's coming off a miscut here in 2018. Did see it in the Challenge Tour event. Aside from that, it's not a track that's set up to suit this type of player. Yes, plenty of recent form to have a look at, but outside of that, it's his over-reliance on his short game. It's going to have to try and get him out of jail again, whether he can do that across 4 rounds or even 2. You know, he's not... I think he's sitting at plus 330 to miss the cut, and I might have a small play on that this week. But he's very, very popular in the betting, 14-1. It's the accuracy side of things, though. He's one of the least accurate players within this field. And when you're up at that top of the board, you have to differentiate yourself. He got away with that at the Open de España in Madrid, which was much to my surprise. I did fade him in that tournament as well. He ended up with a 2nd place finish, losing out, I think it was the Rafa Cabrera at the time. But the following week at Valderrama, completely got found out, struggled tee to green the whole way, and ultimately did not make the cut and was quite a long way from making the cut. Adrian Arnhuis, I'm going to take him on at 14-1 at the top of the board. Adrian Moronk, 2 appearances here, 5th in 2017, missed cut in 2018. Obviously, conditions a little bit different there, softer underfoot. I've been on Moronk in recent tournaments and do expect another competitive outing from him. But it's that price now is coming in tournament after tournament. Had him at 33-1 in the previous outing. He's now down to 16-1. And yes, the drop in class in terms of the overall tournament, but he's consistently playing quite well. Has to be respected. His general weakness is around the green, solid off the tee, decent putter, has length. But actually looking back at the Andalusia Masters, which I mentioned that Adri Arnhuis struggled at, was actually Moronk's approach game that let him down in Spain, with it being one of his better around the green and scrambling performances, suggesting that he may be able to get it together when it comes to these tight tree-lined affairs. Needs to pull it all together in Kenya, but ultimately I do have Moronk respected and do expect to have a little nibble on him in some matchups in other areas. Justin Harding is 16-1. He'll be popular this week off his win at Cairn Country Club last year and his 3 top 10s in his last 5 outings. So recent form, tick. Tournament history, tick. Obviously a different course. Lack of overall distance to his game, probably negated here with the track layout. He ranks just above average in the field in terms of accuracy off the tee. It's hard to poke holes in him generally, but at 16-1, I'm happy enough to swerve. Another one I'm happy enough to swerve this week is Thomas Dietrich at 18-1. Like a lot of the names up the top of the board, length off the tee is not an issue with Dietrich. He's shown some glimpses of recent form, but not enough overall. I've just not seen enough in the course comps as well that I looked at to feel that this world ranked 111th Thomas Dietrich can record his maiden tour victory this week. That probably leads me in quite aptly to someone who did record their maiden victory last season on tour, and is someone that I'm going to put up as my first selection. That's Johannes Veerman at 20-1. He recorded his maiden victory last year at the Czech Masters, coming from 2 shots back on the final day to record a victory in and around the target score that we do expect this week of 15 under par. Quick bent grass greens in place that day, as we have at Muthaiga here. Veerman is trending well coming into this tournament, above his baseline in accuracy of late as well, which is encouraging. Solid off the tee, decent all-round game. And coming to a track that should suit. Does seem to like these slightly tougher tests. What isn't baked into his number, though, and I'm sure DB and Pat will be proud of this little nugget, it's the good old nappy factor. Veerman welcomed his second child just 4 weeks ago, and we all know that means an upturn in form. He was showing glimpses prior to the baby's arrival. He's now got the baby in tow 1 month down the line. Us parents, we know that once you get a month in recorded on the books, you're happy enough to get out of the house, happy enough to get out back on the golf course. And I'm sure Johannes Veerman will come in here looking to reward and wet the baby's head with a victory for us at 20-1. Widely available price that is best price at 25-1 with Bet Online. My second pick is Will Besseling. Got two guys with Dutch names opening up the card. 66-1 generally when he opened up this week. He's down to 50-1 now, and this is the Ben Coley factor. Any of you guys that aren't aware stateside about Ben Coley, when Ben Coley tips something up in the Sporting Life or some of his other outlets on the UK side of things, the market immediately respects that and moves off his action. Besseling himself then, he did well during the Spanish swing. I touched upon that Madrid Open, the Andalusia Masters, where finesse over power is required. Recording at T13 at Crans last year as well, which is a comp course given the altitude and some of the tree-lined and niggly factor of the dog legs and the shaping of shots. He has the distance off the tee, a little more finesse to it. His long-term baseline for driving accuracy is marginally in the positive. He's not the most accurate golfer by any means, but he's definitely against his long-term baseline is marginally a positive fairway gain type golfer. Short-term, he's dipped below that, but did register a top 10 here in 2017, was certainly another tick in the box for Besseling, who's had a look at the course and will know what to expect. So 50-1, I'm happy enough to have a nibble on him. Again, best price, 70-1 BetMGM at the time of recording. They haven't respected Ben Coley. I'm going to. If you can get that 70-1 price, definitely snap it up. My third selection is Francesco Laporta. So third here in 2017 on the Challenge Tour event. This well-traveled Italian enjoyed a strong finish to 2021, posting 4 top 10s from the start of September. This included a T2 at the Golf in Dubai Championship. He's still seeking his maiden tour victory on the DP World Tour, but he's done well on the African continent generally. Outside of his third here in 2017, he's recorded top 5 finishes in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. Bit of a mouthful. And also throw into the mix that his Challenge Tour victories as well, they came on shorter tracks, so he makes plenty of appeal. Enough distance off the tee to be competitive. Not the strongest ball striker in the field by any means, but I'm happy to keep him on side as my third selection. That's Francesco Laporta at 55-1. Again, best price I'm still seeing out there is Bet365. They're always competitive at 66-1, and Bovada as well, which is a stateside book. My next selection is also at 55-1, and he's rearing his head again. We had him at the Joburg Open, and he started pretty well. It's South African Henny du Plessis. Solid form overall, ranks out as one of the most accurate players off the tee. Decent distance to boot, should give him plenty of looks here for this tournament. I backed du Plessis at the Joburg Open, and through the 2 rounds, he gained over 10 strokes tee to green. Definitely was eye-catching and just sitting off the pace there inside that top 10. I wish the tournament hadn't been abandoned with the Omicron variant rearing its ugly head. But in fairness, had to keep an eye on him since then. He's shown more glimpses of what he's capable of. And I do like that we can probably get involved in Henny du Plessis this week, 55-1. Shorter price than I would have taken him at the Joburg Open, but he's justified that with the recent form. So overall, I'm happy enough to have a nibble on Duplessis. And my final outright selection this week is another guy that I'm going back to. Had him in the Middle Eastern swing, and that's Freddie Lacroix at 80-1. Not necessarily checking the box in terms of the accuracy side of things, but on the Challenge Tour Grat, did sit fifth before the aforementioned tournament. The Duplessis was going well in as well, was abandoned in Johannesburg. He's positive in terms of hitting the fairway last time out at Ras Al Khaimah, so maybe he is starting to get that side of his game together. Long-term accuracy wasn't great, but if he has turned it around a little bit, slightly in the positive at Ras Al Khaimah is definitely something to look for. So hopefully finding some consistency off the tee. In fact, we can still pick him up at 80-1 as well. This is not something that I typically get a chance to put up as an angle on a Tuesday night recording, but a lot of the books I've listed, 4 there, but obviously the Camby side of things is a book. So it's not necessarily a book, but it's a white label that sort of prices up on behalf of 4, 5, 6 outs stateside and as well as the UK. So Unibet would be one, for example, that they would still price for. Sugar House in New Jersey would be another that you have to keep in mind. Bet Rivers is another that's a Camby book. But Bet365, Bet Online, Bovada, they all still pricing this golfer up at 80-1, whereas a sharp respected book in Pinnacle have Lacroix sitting at 66-1, which means they've obviously taken some action on him. You can still pick that 80-1 number up at a soft book, take it all day long because you're eating into some value at this stage of the week, which isn't always the case when recording on a Tuesday evening. So, yeah, 66-1 with Pinnacle, but you can get 80-1 there out at multiple outs. So definitely have a look at Freddie Lacroix. Let's get into the DFS side of things then. My team are 4 minutes away from recording a victory. I've already put up Johannes Veerman in the 9K and above range, 9,900 for him. Joachim B. Hansen, 9,100, two-time champion on the DP World Tour now. Slow out of the block so far in 2022, but definitely ended last year in great form, winning the penultimate event on the formerly European Tour, now DP World Tour. And to be fair, it's only a matter of time before he turns it around again. I do expect him to sort of move on and graduate to PGA Tour probably by the end of the year. So Joachim B. Hansen, 9,100 is worth a look. Oliver Becker at 9,000 as well. Top 10 here in 2018. Looks to be trending well form-wise overall. 7-time Sunshine Tour champion. Had a runner-up on the South African Open just before Christmas and could be a golfer that peaks in 2022. I think he's now 37 years of age. Not quite over the hill just yet. Looks to be peaking potentially in his golf game right now. So at 9K, I will take Oliver Becker. And my fate in this rain is Adri Arnhouse. I said it at the top of the show. It's the accuracy. I'm absolutely taking that on at this kind of track where you do need some more finesse. Definitely a golfer in form, but I'm definitely going to take him on, and we will take him on as well in the best bet this week, which served us well at the Andalusia Masters when we took a head-to-head selection against him, and we're going to do it again this time around. The 8K range then, Shubhanka Sharma at 8,700, Sean Crocker at 8,200, and Connor Syme at 8,000 make my card. My fate in this range will be Julian Brune at 8,900. Sharma then, he finished second at the Abu Dhabi Rolex Series event. Serious drop down in class here. That was second to Thomas Peters on that occasion. Former Joburg Open winner at altitude. Similar green conditions as well at that event. Looks to have form at altitude generally if we look back at the WGC Mexico event as well, where I think he was the leader after 36 holes, maybe even 50. Maybe after the 3 rounds as well. So Sharma looks like he's generally a good reader of distance and ball flight, has shown a little bit of short-term form, caught the eye on plenty of occasions in 2021 as well, so I'll have him at 8,700. Sean Crocker, poor start to the new season for him, 8,200. Contended at a number of the comp courses we looked at, so had to give him some consideration on the DFS side of things. And Connor Syme at 8,000, just to round out this 8K range. So he's coming off a T6 at the Ras Al Khaimah event last time out, and a third at Cairn Country Club in this event last year, as well as a top 10 finishes at both the South African Open and in Valderrama before. So plenty to like about Syme in terms of recent form, in terms of course comps, and at 8K, I'm happy to have him in DFS lineups. My fade is Julian Brune to 8,900. It's the accuracy numbers for me. He's finding just 39.7% of fairways over his last 12 events. Yes, he's been a prolific winner at low-grade events before stepping up to the DP World Tour. I've certainly backed him recently as well in events. It's just this type of track. If he's not particularly accurate off the tee, it's something that I'm happy enough to fade. And 8,900, he's at the top end of that range. I think we can look down to the likes of Connor Syme at 8,000, and we have a lot more boxes ticked overall, both model-wise and form-wise. So Julian Brune, 8,900 is my fade in the 8K range. Not going to dwell too much on the 7K range because Francesco Laporta at 7,900, Henny Duplessis at 7,700, Will Bestling at 7,600, and Freddie Lacroix at 7,200 are all in this range. And to be honest, it's a range that I absolutely love across the board. And it wouldn't surprise me if an optimal lineup comes out this week and it is all 7K golfers. It's loaded in this area. You can definitely fill out your lineups, maybe take one from the top of the board like Moronk or Burmeister, and then drop down and fill out the rest of your lineup with 7K golfers. So I've touched upon those four names in the betting portion of the show. Outside of those, Marcus Kinholt, 7,200, Jayden Shaper, 7,300, and Aaron Cockrell and Jacques Blau at 7K. All will form part of my lineup construction this week and is well worth a look. And we nearly added a second in injury time of extra time for Middlesbrough. Looks like we're going to do it, fellas. Looks like we're going to do it. It's not quite Bulldog territory, but I'd be very happy to advance to the next round of the Cup. And I do work with a lot of Spurs fans as well. So it's going to be a nice bit of banter tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, 7K range I definitely like. The golfer I'm going to fade in the 7K range is Andre Leeser. I've liked Lisa this year. He's in at 7,000. When I say this year, sorry, the 2021 season, definitely had some involvement in terms of the Czech Masters. I think the Dutch Open as well. I had him and some later events as well in DFS. He's definitely someone that I do respect and like. Has 2 top 20s in his last 4 outings and 6 straight made cuts. But this is a seasonal reappearance. That's a big, long layoff. He hasn't played since the end of November competitively. Short game may rescue him, but his accuracy off the tee is question mark. His greens and regulation numbers were a question mark when I was doing the modeling side of things. I'm happy enough to steer clear, so I'm fading Andre Leeser at 7,000. And then the 6K range at the Magical Kenya Open 2022. Here's an interesting little tidbit for you. So 10 of the 18 Challenge Tour events at Muthaiga Golf Club were won by a British player. So in the 6K range, you do have to think outside the box a little bit. There's a lot of locals playing this week in the 6K range. And there's a lot of golfers that are just completely out of form. I found 3 Brits that I'm going to keep on side. Ashley Chester's at 6,800, Dale Whitnell at 6,700, and Rhys Enoch at 6,700 as well. 2 Englishmen and a Welshman to round out my DFS card. All 3 of them check boxes model-wise for me. Showed a small bit of betting value, but not enough to get on them on the outright markets. But they are 6K golfers. I'll have a look at top 20 markets. I know some books as well extend down, certainly the books on the Flutter group. So that's like Paddy Power, Betfair, I think FoxBet, Poker Stars. I think they all will offer those prices on top 40 market as well, which is definitely worth a look for Desters, Whitnell, and Enoch. But that rounds out my 6K range. And Middlesbrough have just defeated Tottenham Hotspur in the FA Cup. So I am a happy, happy boy. Sorry if any Spurs fans are listening in. My good buddy Al Clark will not be too amused. He's a big Spurs fan, lives out in Kentucky now. Believe he runs even a supporters club out there as well in the States. So sorry, Al. We have bragging rights on this one, but ultimately we're still stuck in the second tier and you guys are top end Premier League. Anyway, yep, we'll not dwell on that. We will jump to my best bet. And that is Adrian Moronk at -110 versus Adri Arnhuis, 72-hole matchup. Give you some things that I liked about Moronk and what I didn't like about Arnhuis at the top of the show, but I'll give you a quick recap. So on Arnhuis' side of things, it's the accuracy numbers. He's going to have to over-rely on a short game this week, and I don't think he's going to get away with it like he did at the Open d'Espagne. It's going to be more like the Andalusia Masters for me when it comes to Adri Arnhuis. Moronk, in contrast, is trending well form-wise, as is Arnhuis, to be fair to him. But has an appearance round here where he finished 5th. I think Arnhuis round here missed the cut. On top of that, the weakness of Moronk around the green, I think he can get away with to a degree. You will need some scrambling this week, but definitely the off the tee, decent putter, trending well form wise. And if I can get them in a straight head to head matchup with just the juice to pay at minus 110 over Adri Arnhuis, I'm happy enough to bet Adrian Moronk this week. That, fellas, rounds up the show. Quick and easy one in the end with a little bit of a distraction in the background with my beloved Borough going through to the next round of the Cup. But cheers, guys. If you have not hit like and subscribe to the DP World Tour Network podcast, please do on all your podcast platforms. And also check out the other guys. The two lads have put together shows this week, and DB is extending the content out when it came to the Arnold Palmer invitation with some build-up shows as well as the usual array of events and shows that they put on. So yeah, check those out as well. Thank you very much, fellas, and best of luck this week. May we see some green screens and some winning betting tickets.